Hey, what's up guys? Today we're gonna have our first bracketology video of the 23-24 season. I'm excited to get back into making college basketball videos again. And at the end of the video, for people that are interested, I will kind of talk about my plans for the channel and things like that. So I will do that at the end of the video. But I'm super excited to get into this bracketology, first one of the year. I'm going off of ESPN, Joe Lenardi's bracketology from yesterday. All right, so let's get into the bracket. So we got Purdue versus Merrimack or New Mexico State. We know Purdue struggles against the little guy in the last two tournaments, losing to Fairleigh Dickinson and St. Peter's. So, you know, this could have happened again. I mean, it might, but I have a feeling that Purdue's gonna break the curse. They're gonna find a way. They're gonna have revenge on their mind. You know, maybe they'll do what Virginia did back in 2019, where they, you know, the previous year, they go out in the first round to a 16 seed for the first time ever, come back the very next year with a lot of the same guys, similar to Purdue, and then go on to win it all. So maybe that's in the cards for Purdue as well. But I don't see them losing 3 straight years in a row to either a 15 or a 16 seed. This next game is very interesting because it's a dogfight, beat 'em up, scrappy game. It's one of those between Ole Miss and Iowa State. Chris Beard has done a remarkable job at Ole Miss this year, turning them. They only had 12 wins all last year. They already have 13 wins this year. It's really impressive what he's done. Some people might not like Chris Beard as a man, or might question his character. But as far as being a college basketball coach goes, he's very, very, very good. And he's turned around Ole Miss fast. And Coach Otzenberger for Iowa State's also a fantastic coach, and he turned Iowa State's program around fast. These are two really good college basketball coaches. I actually would really like this game. If you like defense, like I really enjoy watching good defense. So I actually really enjoy this type of game. But I'm gonna go with Chris Beard and Ole Miss here. They haven't had much success in the tournament. I would like to see them have some success. So I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. All right, so on to Baylor versus Princeton, which is a very good 12-5 game. Princeton's a team that, coming off of a Sweet 16 run last year when they upsetted Arizona and then Missouri, blowing out Missouri even. They do lose some production from that team, but they haven't really missed a beat yet. They're having a phenomenal year, only one loss, and it was only by 2 points, I believe, their loss. So almost undefeated at this point in the year. And Baylor is a great three-point shooting team, but they do rely on the three ball quite a bit. So I think this is one of these classic 12-5 upsets here. I'm gonna go Princeton. They're having another fantastic year, and I think they could maybe make a little noise in March again. Okay, we got Memphis versus Weber State. Memphis having a really good year, and what I like about Memphis this year is, and they were pretty old last year too, but they are a very, very old veteran team, and that's just so important in March. You got old guys that have been around, they've done that, they've played in these big games, they don't get rattled as much, and so I really think Memphis will be prepared, and they aren't going to take Weber State lightly, because Weber State they've been a solid mid-major team for quite a while now. I don't think Memphis will take them too lightly. So now we got Alabama versus the winner of Texas and Nebraska. Texas has no quad one wins, has not beat anyone good. Maybe their best wins like Wyoming, I would say. Texas has beat no one. Nebraska's having a really good year. It's cool to see. Nebraska's had a lot of struggles in basketball, so it's cool to see them in the tournament as of now. I'm hoping they actually stay that way. I'd like to see Nebraska get in. So give me Nebraska over Texas, and then I think Alabama's got too much talent for Nebraska. But I think they'd make it close because Alabama does live and die by the three. So if you can shut down Bama from the three, that's always been part of NATO's coaching strategy is, shoot a lot of threes, shoot fast. So Alabama's always prone to be upset in a game like this, but I think Alabama gets the job done. All right, so we got Clemson and Akron. Clemson's got a great squad this year led by PJ Hall. I think they have too much size and they would get by Akron. Akron, most mid-majors would have a tough time with Clemson's size. They have a lot of tall players, a lot of length on their side. Ohio State versus Mississippi State. This would be another dogfight type of game because Mississippi State pretty much makes every game ugly. They play fantastic defense. So I actually think I think the way the Mississippi State plays transitions well to winning game 1 of the NCAA tournament, because everyone is nervous. Most teams aren't hitting shots very well in the first game because the nerves are up. But Mississippi State, they're used to that type of basketball, and they're used to playing ugly. So give me Mississippi State here. Then we got Marquette versus Colgate. Colgate's they always find a way into the tournament, and they almost always win their conference tournament. But Marquette's a phenomenal team. Kolek's one of my favorite players in the country. I think Marquette gets by with relative ease. UConn versus Marist, no issues for UConn. Dayton, Miami, this would be a really interesting 8-9 game. Super interesting game. I would love to see this. Love to see Day'Ron Holmes taking on Miami. I think Day'Ron Holmes would definitely be Dayton's biggest advantage, because I don't know how well they would guard Day'Ron Holmes. Because Miami's biggest strength is they have great guards. Miami has really good guards, and Jim Larrañaga is a fantastic coach. Just Miami's success in the tournament recently makes me believe in Miami's team, and I really do believe in their guards. They got good, experienced guards: Wooga Poplar, Bensley Joseph, Nigel Pack. So I think Miami's guards would win them this game. Oklahoma versus Indiana State. I could definitely see Indiana State pulling off an upset here. I think this is one of those ones this would be a trendy pick, but I like Oklahoma here. All right, so moving on to Wisconsin versus Samford. I think this could be a really interesting matchup. It's a good 4-13 game. Wisconsin at times can go through really dry spells scoring the ball. Not as bad as in years past, because they got more athletes. They got more guys that can create their own shot this year, especially with AJ Storr, and Klesmit's taking a step this year. So they got more guys that can score the ball off the dribble, making their own play, which has plagued Wisconsin in the past. Samford's been a good mid-major squad as well for these last few years. But I'm gonna go with Wisconsin here, and I think it's another close one. I think both the Oklahoma-Indiana State game and the Wisconsin-Samford game would be close games. All right, so moving on to Creighton versus Grand Canyon, which would be a fantastic 6-11 matchup. And Creighton has played down to some opponents this year. They haven't played up to the skill level that they have on that team. It's a good roster Creighton has. They've been a little bit disappointing compared to expectations this year. I like the upset here, because Creighton at times has shown an inability to score the ball at times. Like they just go completely cold. And so I think Grand Canyon has a good shot to beat them. Grand Canyon's been really good this year, and let's go with Grand Canyon. All right, now we got BYU Morehead State. I don't think BYU would struggle in this matchup too much, because BYU has been just blowing the doors off of inferior opponents. They have not been messing around. Their lone losses to Utah by only 4 points, and all the small, mid-major or low-major teams they've played, they've just blown them out with ease. So I think they would do the same. They don't seem to play down to opponents like Creighton has done at times this year, or other top teams. They've been handling business. And then when I saw this yesterday, I really liked this. Now we got Michigan State, James Madison. So we got the rematch of earlier this year when James Madison shocked the world, beating Michigan State. Now it would obviously be less of a shock if James Madison won this game. They're still undefeated. Michigan State has been a little underwhelming this year, but they're trending up. I think Michigan State, by the time the season's over, they're going to be more of the team that we expected them to be. I don't think they're the 4th best team in the country. I don't know why they were ever put that high, but I do think this would be a really good game, similar to the one earlier in the year. I think Michigan State and Tom Izzo make the adjustments though, and they beat James Madison. And who knows, James Madison might be undefeated still at that time. I think they'll have a slip up or two in conference play, but they're a great story, and that would be a fun game. That would be one of the most watched games, I think, of round 1, if that came true. Okay, we got Tennessee versus Vermont. I think Tennessee's got too much length. Tennessee's been really good this year. Their only losses are to 3 top 10 teams, so they got no losses this year. They've beaten some good teams like Illinois. I think Tennessee gets by Vermont with not too much issue, but Vermont can hang tough in those games. I bet they make it close in the first half. Okay, let's actually go up to the top right quadrant. Let's go with Houston versus Southern or Stetson. I think Houston, they hold most low major teams that they play, they usually hold them to under 40 points. This is probably no different. This is probably like a 75 to 40 game. And now we got Nevada versus Providence. Nevada's been really, they brought back Jared Lucas, and Keenan Blackshear from last year's team. And so they definitely had experience coming back, but I didn't think they were going to start out 13-1 like they have, or it might be 14-1 now. But they've been fantastic this year. Providence has been great under Kim English in year one. They've had a really good year. This would be a fascinating 8-9 game. But I actually like Nevada a lot right now. The couple games I've seen Nevada, they've been pretty impressive. So I'm going to go with Nevada. All right, so we got Auburn versus Northwestern and TCU. Auburn's not really been talked about that much this year compared to other years. I just don't hear people talking about them as much. I think Auburn is they got a good squad this year, got a ton of athletes. I'm going to go Auburn over Northwestern and TCU. TCU hasn't really beat anyone yet. But they haven't taken really any bad losses, even though the Georgetown game should have been a loss for them. Okay, moving on to FAU McNeese State. FAU has been a up and down roller coaster team this year, taking a couple quad 4 losses, and but they've also had some fantastic wins. They beat Arizona, they beat Texas A&M. So who knows what you're going to get at FAU in the tournament? They obviously were fantastic last year in the tournament, but Will Wade has done a fantastic job with McNeese State. Another guy where you can question his character possibly, but he has proven to be a great team builder again. He's built a team in McNeese State. I actually think let's go with an upset here. Let's go McNeese State over FAU and a shocker. But we've seen FAU drop games to teams that are worse than McNeese State, so it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Okay, so now we got Villanova in Florida. In an interesting, really a close, even talent 6-11 game. I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna go Florida here. Actually, I think Florida has been actually more consistent this year than Villanova has. Villanova took some bad losses in the Philly Five, I think is what they call it. You know, when they play all the other Philadelphia schools, they were concerning in those games. Now it's early season, but I don't know. I'm not sold on Nova yet. I need to see more consistency out of them. Okay, we got North Carolina versus High Point. North Carolina's had a good season this year. I don't think they're going to end up with a 3 seed. I just don't actually think North Carolina's like that good. Maybe they'll turn into a team I believe in more. But I do think they get by High Point. They get by High Point. And then we got a Utah rivalry in this next one. You got Utah versus Utah State, both of them having really good seasons this year. Utah hasn't been in the tournament now in a few years, so it'd be good to see them back in it if you're a Utah fan. And I'm going to go with Utah here, though. They're the only team this year to beat BYU. They have great size, fantastic size. One of the taller teams in the country. I like Utah there. And then Kentucky versus Drexel. I could see Kentucky letting that get close because we've seen Kentucky. They've also played down to some inferior opponents this year. And so I could see them doing the same, but I know Coach Cal is going to be on those boys. And it's been a while since Coach Cal's really had success in the tournament. So I think Kentucky needs to have some success. All right, now we're down in the bottom right quadrant. We got Kansas versus South Dakota State. Give me Kansas, should be no issue. Colorado, Gonzaga. It's weird to see a Gonzaga with a 9 seed. It's been several years now that we've seen Gonzaga without a top 4 seed. And they're likely not going to get it this year because the West Coast Conference, there's just not a ton of opportunity, especially with St. Mary's being a lot worse than expected. Not a lot of opportunities for them to get a lot of good wins. They probably aren't going to get a super high seed this year. If they won out or something, they could get a top 4 seed. But it is interesting to see them at a 9. But that's where they should be. They don't have too many great wins. But I'm going to go, actually, I think I'm going to go Colorado. I like Colorado this year. They have a really good team. Cody Williams, the 5-star, he's been pretty good. I think they got a good squad. I like to see Colorado over Gonzaga. And then we got Colorado State against Oregon. Interesting 5-12. I think Colorado State has the best point guard in the country in Isaiah Stevens. And when you got the best point guard in the country, I'm going to ride with that all day, especially a 5th-year guy, a guy that's stayed true to Colorado State his whole career. when most guys would have transferred out for their 5th year to go to some big time Power 5 school, he stayed in it, you know, and he's reaping the rewards for that. They're having a fantastic year. Give me Colorado State. All right, now we got Duke and UC Irvine. I think Duke has more experience this year than they do most years. You know, Filipowski decided to come back. Roach came back for his senior year. Roach is a great point guard. Proctor is going to be getting healthier. I think Duke should be fine in this game, but man, UC Irvine's tough. UC Irvine is tough. Let's go Duke, but in a close one. State versus South Carolina. South Carolina is really, you know, they're really exceeding expectations right now. It'd be cool for them to get into the tournament. They haven't had much success since their Final Four in 2017. It'd be cool to see them get in. I'd be happy for their fan base, but I don't think they beat San Diego State in that matchup. I don't think they've seen a team with as much defense and athleticism as San Diego State. Even though San Diego State's defense has not been as good this year as it has in years past, but they have enough weapons. I just don't think it'd be too much of an issue for them. Illinois versus Fort Wayne. Illinois, we'll see if they get Terrence Shannon Jr. back at some point this year. We'll have to see how all that goes as far as court cases and all that. But I think Illinois is a fantastic team with or without him. Obviously better with him. He's one of the best players in the country, but they'd get by Fort Wayne. And so now we got Texas A&M, Virginia. A game we saw earlier in the year. I have yet to look into if Tyrese Radford is going to be back soon, or if he got back. I need to look into that. But if he's back, give me Texas A&M and Tyrese Radford and Wade Taylor, because when Radford's there as that dynamic duo for Wade Taylor, they're a different team. So if he's back, give me Texas A&M. Arizona, Norfolk State. I don't think Arizona's going to be upset again in a 15-2. Let's go Arizona. Then we got, actually, let's go back to the top left corner. Purdue, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is one of the only teams that can actually match up well on the inside with Purdue. With Jamarion Sharp, who's actually taller than Edey, but he's about 130 pounds lighter than Edey, so he gives up a lot of strength. But we have Cisse, Ole Miss has Cisse as well, and Cisse is a fantastic interior defender. It obviously gives up some size to Edey, but he's 7 foot as well, and he's stronger. So I think Ole Miss matches up well, and I think they would keep it close against Purdue. I do think so, but I think Purdue is going to get back to the Sweet 16 this year. And but I think it's a great first year for Ole Miss, and I think Ole Miss can make this make it a good game. Okay, so we got Clemson versus Mississippi State. I think this is an interesting game. I think Clemson gets by, though. I think Mississippi State at some point runs out of shot making ability, and they just go through too much of a drought in a game somewhere in the tournament, and they would lose at some point. And then we got Purdue versus Clemson. Clemson's got good size, but it's not good enough size to handle Edey. But they could draw up a game plan to make it close, and they would make it close. But I'm going to go Purdue here over Clemson. I think they would win, actually, probably by 10. Okay, so now we got UConn versus Miami. Miami and UConn, that'd be a rematch of the Final Four from last year. But this Miami team is not as good as last year's Miami team. This UConn's team is close to as good, and I think by the time the season is over, they can be almost as good as last year's team. So I'm going to go with UConn. Oklahoma, Wisconsin, an interesting game of teams that are exceeding expectations, especially Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma in this one. I think Oklahoma plays good, efficient basketball. They don't turn the ball over too much. I think Oklahoma wins that one. And now we got Grand Canyon versus BYU. I think, again, BYU has not struggled against the little guys too much. Now, Grand Canyon has the talent to make a run in this year's tournament. But I'm going to go with BYU. I think BYU is such a deep team. They go 10 deep most nights, deeper than almost any top 20 team in the country. I'm going to go BYU. Now we got Michigan State versus Tennessee. Tennessee's another team similar to Purdue that has struggled in the tournament. Haven't been able to get over that hump and make it to like an Elite Eight, Final Four. And so a lot is riding on this season again for Tennessee. They're probably going to get another high seed. This is another opportunity for them to do something. And I'm going to say, I don't know if they're going to do something necessarily, but I'm going to say they're going to get by Michigan State. And I think they're also going to they'd get by BYU. Ending a great first year in the Big 12 for BYU, but I think they get by BYU. And now we got UConn, Oklahoma. And Oklahoma also, similar to BYU, it really exceeded expectations. But UConn is really just, I still think UConn's, obviously they're fourth in the AP right now. I think they got to be in the top three in my mind for best teams in the country, especially when they're at full strength and everything is clicking. UConn's hard to beat. So I'm going to go UConn there. And then UConn versus Tennessee. You know what? I'm going to say Tennessee gets over the hump because Dalton Knecht, they haven't had a shot maker like Dalton Knecht in a while now. And so having him, it will be huge for them in March, because then if things are starting to struggle, like, because Tennessee, we know they struggle to score the ball at times, but now they have a guy like, okay, get us a bucket. He can go get you a bucket. So I think Tennessee knocks off UConn. UConn doesn't get to the Final Four back-to-back years. So now we got Purdue, Tennessee, which is a rematch of the Elite Eight game. Or was it Sweet 16? From 2019. It was a classic. It was Sweet 16. I think it was Sweet 16 game. It was a classic game. Okay, so now we got Purdue versus Tennessee in the Final Four on the left side. Now let's go to the right side. And we got Houston versus Nevada. I think Houston gets by Nevada, not too much issues. I don't think Nevada is prepared for the level of intense defense that Houston plays with. It's really impressive. And then I'm going to go with McNeese State here to be my little Cinderella. They're going to beat Auburn. Auburn's a bit erratic at times, so I'm going to go with McNeese State. I'm still not super sold on Auburn's guards. I think their guard plays better this year than it has been the last couple of years. Still not completely sold on, though. Give me McNeese State to make a little run. Then we got Florida, North Carolina. This give me my upset side. I'm going to go Florida over North Carolina to make we always see 11 seeds making a little bit of a run. I think Florida if this is the bracket, I think Florida can make a run. They got a good squad this year. And then we got Kentucky versus Utah. Utah has some good size. Like I said earlier, they got good size. But Kentucky has much better guards, more athletic guards. And so I'm going to go with Kentucky. Setting up an SEC matchup here with Kentucky and Florida, which is the game that's going on currently. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. As I'm filming this, I don't even know how that game's going. It'll be interesting for me to see. But I'm going to go with Kentucky over Florida. And then I'm going to do Houston over Kentucky. And then Houston, Kentucky, phenomenal game, really. It'd be a fun matchup. But I believe in Houston a lot more than I believe in Kentucky. Even though Houston hasn't played anyone yet, so I might take back those words. Houston hasn't played too many great opponents yet. They beat Texas A&M, beat Virginia, I believe. They get a couple quad one wins. But, okay. Moving on to the bottom right quadrant, we got Kansas versus Colorado. I'm going to go with Kansas there. Then we got Colorado State versus Duke. I think it's a good game. I think it's close. I think Duke has more options. I think Duke would really try hard to shut down Isaiah Stevens. Really hard. And they probably would be somewhat successful with that. All right, so we got San Diego State, Illinois. I'm going to go Illinois. The San Diego State team is not as good. Losing Keyshawn Johnson was huge. Keyshawn Johnson's a phenomenal player. He's been great for Arizona. That was a big loss. Obviously, Matt Bradley's big loss. The San Diego State team isn't as good. But Jaden Ledee's been super impressive. But I'm going to go with Illinois over San Diego State and what would be a fantastic game. Arizona, Texas A&M. I think if Texas A&M gets their dynamic duo back, they'll be a lot better, but I'm still going Arizona. And the Illinois, Arizona, depends on if Illinois gets back Terrence Shannon Jr. I think that's all the difference right there. But we'll go with Arizona because I think with Terrence Shannon Jr., I think Illinois has a good chance to win that game, but without him, it definitely isn't as good. They still could win, though. Kansas versus Duke. I'm going to go with I don't love the shot making from. I don't love the shot making. They don't. Kansas doesn't have great perimeter shooters. Duke. I'm gonna go Duke. I think Kansas runs dry, and then let's go Arizona over Duke to get to the Final Four. All right, so we got two 2 seeds and two 1 seeds in our Final Four. A little chalkier than I like to do because I think you see most years, especially in recent era, you see at least the team seeded 4 or lower make a run. So I don't like how chalky it is necessarily, but these are 4 fantastic teams here and would be good matchups. So we got Purdue versus Tennessee, rematch of that 2019 Classic, where Carson Edwards just went ballistic on Tennessee. It would be a fun matchup. I'm going to go with Tennessee is going to find a way, and they're going to beat Purdue here. They have great size well. This is like a heavyweight battle. They have the size to be able to shut down Edey. I think Tennessee's guards are very good. Purdue's guards are making a big stride too. There's not much that you see like I'm like this team does much better than the other team in a certain category. But I'm going to go with Tennessee to beat Purdue in a battle of like who can get over the hump, really. So that would be, I guess they already got over the hump in a way by getting to the Final Four, but who can really get over the hump by making it to a national championship game? So we got Tennessee in that one. Now let's go Houston versus Arizona. A good game. I think Houston they both got just athletes galore everywhere you look. Both these teams do. Fantastic players. I'm going to go with Arizona, though. I think Arizona it can look really good at times. They're a little inconsistent. I'm a little nervous picking them because they're also prone to get upset at times. But when Arizona's clicking, they're hard to beat, really hard to beat. So let's go Tennessee versus Arizona. And for the first bracketology of the year, we're going to go with Arizona beating Tennessee in a classic to give the Pac-12 their first championship in 27 years because they haven't won since Arizona won it in 97. So we got Arizona versus Tennessee to wrap up the first bracketology video of the year. Thanks guys for watching. If you stuck around to the end, I just want to talk about kind of the future of the channel and what my plans are for it. So I'm hoping to get out like 1 or 2 bracketology videos a week and do like picks and predictions videos, things like that. And I'll probably do some of those with my cousin who is super knowledgeable about college basketball, and he'll be on the channel some in the future. And just getting out, I just want to get out consistently 2 to 3 college basketball videos a week because now that I'm out of college, I'm able to be more consistent. And I'm really looking forward to like making these videos again. It's fun. And so yeah, comment who you guys think is gonna win, or comment anything you want. And yeah, appreciate you guys, and subscribe and like would be appreciated as well. And see you guys in the next one.